सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. My salutations to Swami Chinmayananda and all other devotees of Swamiji and committed volunteers of Chinmaya Mission. So I am privileged to be here to deliver a couple of talks today to a seriously interested audience. In this talk, I will take you through a few beautiful verses from one of the most delightful dramas called Abhijñāna-śakuntalā or Śākuntala. Kālidasa, as all of us know, has been described by various terms, and perhaps I would say the greatest poet of all times. The simplicity of his work, clubbed with profound thoughts integrated into simple Sanskrit, and his matchless ability to integrate worldly wisdom as well as moral values into his literary works is something which is outstanding. People call him Mahakavi, and there is a university which is called Kālidāsa University, KKSU. So he is described as Kavikula Guru. Then there is another epithet which I have heard. This is Deepashikha Kālidāsa. Deepa is light, and what is it I will just explain to you in the next slide. And he is famous for employing a variety of figures of speech. Sanskrit has produced enormous amount of literature which has been so thoroughly analyzed by various literary giants, and they have come up with a Shastra which is called Sahitya Shastra, which in itself is something is so enchanting if you get into that. Unfortunately, many of us have not got introduced to the language itself. Forget about analysis of the literary works at various levels and how are they graded and so on and so forth. Why is Kālidasa considered so great, etc. So there are so many literary merits which they have been listing up, and we will see some of them. One of them is something which is generally known as figures of speech. There are very, very few limited in certain other languages which have been listed up. We know of alliteration, we know of pun, we know of simile and so on. But here there are hundreds of alankaras as they call it. Okay? And Kālidasa is so famous for Upama Alankara, and this Deepashikha essentially comes from this. There is a nice verse in Raghuvamsha wherein this Swayamvara, see we know the Swayamvara, so where the princess will go and choose. So the Swayamvara is being described by Kālidasa. So many people are just sitting, kings from all over are just assembled, and then this lady will go along with her friends, and then she will just, each one will be described, right? And each one will be eagerly awaiting, will she garland me, etc. Now the state of those kings who are sitting there is described by this poet. Sancharini Deepashikhe Varatrau Yam Yam Vyatiyaya Patim Varasa Narendra Margatta Iva Prapede Vivarna Bhavam Sasa Bhumipalaha. Bhumipalaha is king. So as Indumati is coming, so this fellow's face will brighten up. You understand? So that she is likely to garland me when somebody is describing. then as she passes away, it will just fade. So Kālidāsa describes as a lady with a lamp as she is moving. See, so wherever she passes, that building will light up. Okay, and then the lamp goes, the building will lose its charm. See, that is what is meant by Deepa Shikha. So this is just a model. So Deepa Shikha means, so people even today, if you have some wedding procession, so people will be carrying light lamps in some posts. So as they move, that particular portion will lit up, and then as he moves, so that is how the phase of this happened. Okay, Vivarana bhavam sasa bhumi palaha. Therefore, he became so famous for Deepa Shikha Kālidāsa. That is how people call. Okay. Hi. Next. So to just initially, I will just spend 4 or 5 slides to just bring out the greatness of Kālidāsa as has been seen by other great poets. People also describe the name of this finger. You know, in Sanskrit, this is called Kanishthika, Anamika, Tarjani, Anguštha. So this Anamika literally means the one which cannot be named, right? The one which cannot be named. So the poet says, when people started counting who are the great poets, the first finger said Kālidāsa. There was no one to name in the second finger. Therefore, this finger became Anamika. You understand? See, Pura Kavinam Ganana Prasange, when they wanted to count, Kanishthika Adhishthita Kālidāsa Adyapi Tatulya Kavera Bhavat. Even today, we do not have someone who can match the poetic beauty of Kālidasa's works. Therefore, Anamika became meaningful. See, Anamika Sarthavati Babhuva. Then, see, Kālidasa's works are simple by themselves, but the profound thoughts that have been integrated by Kālidāsa from the Vedic literature as well as from the Smritis, Puranas, etc., plus the grammatical structure has been brilliantly brought out by commentator. This commentator Mallinatha is also matchless. And the commentator, so he says, Kālidāsa giram saram Kālidāsa saraswati chaturmukhothava sakshat viduhu nanyetu madrishaha. In order to say how great poet Kālidāsa is, he says, giram saram means, saram is the essence. The import of what Kālidāsa wants to convey exactly, either Kālidāsa knows or only Saraswati knows. See, Kālidāsa giram saram, Kālidasaha Saraswati. Okay, Chaturmukha or Brahma who created Kālidāsa. Na anyetu madrishaha. See, people like me, we will not be able to really bring out what he wants to convey. Okay, so that is the way he wants to bring out the greatness of Kālidāsa. He is a great commentator. So those who have got some exposure to some of these texts, you should try to venture yourself into looking at Mallinatha's commentary. So you will be able to see the depth and the kind of integration that Kālidāsa brings in between what is conveyed in Shruti and Smriti. So he will be highlighting those Shrutis. So this is what Kālidāsa wants to convey here through this phrase. Then you will be able to really appreciate what has been done by him. Okay. So that is why this. Among the works of Kālidāsa, say Raghuvamsha is quite famous, Kumara Sambhava, we have, these are called as Mahakavyas. Then we have Khandakavyas, Meghaduta and Ritu Samhara. Then we have Śākuntala, Malavikāgnimitra and Vikramourvashiya. These are the works that are available. So these are Drishya Kavya means they are dramas, and Khandakavya means small ones. These are Mahakavyas. So in fact, about Meghaduta, people say, Maghe Meghe Gatam Vayaha. You understand? Magha is referring to, so the work of a Magha Kavi. Okay? And this Megha basically refers to Meghaduta. So if you keep on reading them, so you feel that the life itself is exhausted. Okay? So that is how people say the depth of that. So if you just listen to some of these verses of, in fact I was so happy to see some of these people today morning also. I think Kashchit was sung. So in Bengali's own tune. I mean each place has its own way of rendering different meters. Okay? So we render, I mean if you say Andhra, I mean they will have a different kind of rendering. You go to Orissa, they will have different, Madhya Pradesh, you go, Bengal, you go. And the same meter, I mean rendered in different ways. Okay, I was very happy to see. Then this is the genius of Kālidāsa. See, in those days people have, even today we have this tradition of scholars being posed by question. So you give a certain phrase and then you ask the scholar to compose a verse with this phrase appearing. You understand? So this phrase has to appear here. So this is how they will say. Okay. Now, in fact, I remember somebody gave this phrase, Nacha khalu paribhoktum naiva shaknomi hatum. See, Nacha khalu paribhoktum naiva shaknomi hatum. So what does this mean? I can neither enjoy nor I can leave it. You understand? Nacha khalu paribhok, that is the situation which many of us have. So we have built a huge empire for us. The old age is just progressing. We can neither enjoy nor are we able to drop it from us. Okay. In fact, one Italian lady told me, so she has a lot of interest in this. So 25-30 years back I used to teach her when she was much young. Now she once in a while calls, and then when I went to Europe a couple of years ago, she said, please come, please come. I went to her just to pay a courtesy visit. She was very old now. And then she said, somehow my heart is in India and I want to come and learn Sanskrit and so on and so forth. The beautiful messages that have been conveyed by the philosophers here and the literary merit is something which is really attracting me. And I said, why don't you quit and then come and stay in India? No. See, he has built a beautiful house. She said, how can I leave this house? How can I leave this house? So that is what Nacha khalu paribhoktum naiva shaknomi hatum. Anyway, and another poet, another fellow, he had a nice creativity. See, you know this, in temple they will give prasada, right? In temples they give prasada. So there will be a huge crowd. One place, what one fellow did was, prasada was given. So normally people will take like this. He wanted to have more. So he wanted to stretch both the hands. But there was a pillar in between. So he just stretched his hand like this. He got the prasada. Now he can neither consume it nor drop it. Nacha khalu paribhoktum naiva shaknomi hatum. Okay. So this is how people very nicely create. So you give the samasya purti and then they will compose verses like this. So Kālidāsa was once challenged by somebody. See, you give a theme, Kālidāsa will come up with. But then some fellow said, I am only giving you 4 letters, ka, kha, ga, gha. You compose verse. The verse has to end with ka, kha, ga, gha. This fellow thought Kālidāsa is finished. But then this is the verse apparently they say. Kattumbale kanchanamala kasyaf putri kanakalatāyaha haste kinte tali patram kavare kha ka kha ga gha. Do you understand? Say, Kattumbale, oh, little girl, what is it? Who are you? Kanchanamala, whose daughter you are? I am daughter of Kanakalata. Haste kinte, what is it that you have in your hand? Tali patram, see, palm leaf. What does it contain? Kakha gagha. You understand? So this is how Kālidasa's genius is. One more verse to just show the genius of Kālidāsa, and then I will move on to the text. See, in those days people had to Even today, in a way, scholars have to survive only through patronage. There has to be respect for the scholarship, and they should be able to sustain their life also based on the rewards that are given, etc. So apparently, one very innocent sadhu was there. He somehow did not have much, so he wanted to get something from the king. So with great respect, he went to Kālidāsa and then said, "So please help me, Kālidāsa, what do I do? So it is very difficult for me to survive, to run my ashram. So please take me to the king and then get something for me." So since he was a very genuine person and he had a sincere request, Kālidāsa said, "Okay, I will give you a short phrase. Okay? So you should just come and say this phrase. Okay? I will introduce you to the king, saying that this person will not speak much. He will give only short phrases. It will be like adage. So you should honor him, etc. This is how I will introduce you." So he told, "Tripida pariharostu." Okay? Tripida pariharostu. We just say this. This is sufficient. So this person tried to memorize and then go there. Assembly, somehow he forgot part of it. Instead of saying Tripida pariharostu, he wanted to make it rhythmic. Tripidastu dine dine. Okay, parihar. So this is what he said. So now Kālidāsa was put to embarrassment. So Kālidāsa somehow managed. So he is a great man. Okay. So king was surprised. He is saying, "You have 3 pidas every day. What is this Ashirvachana by this sadhu?" He was worrying. Then Kālidāsa came to rescue him. He said, "Shayane dara pidastu, shishu pidastu bhojane, sabhayam vipra pidastu, tripidastu dine dine." See, Shayane dara pidastu, may you be disturbed by your beloved when you are in the bed. Shayane dara pidastu. Shishu pidastu bhojane, when you sit for eating, let the grandchildren come and disturb you. Okay. Shishu pidastu bhojane, sabhayam vipra pidastu, when you come and sit in the assembly, let scholars come and trouble you. Okay. Tripidastu dine dine. So that is how, Kālidāsa's brilliance goes. Okay. Let me get into the Śākuntalam now. Śākuntalam has a very grand verse with profound philosophy integrated. Not only this, if you take any of these works of Kālidāsa, you see the first verse, which is generally called as Mangalacharanam, is filled with brilliant thoughts and profound philosophy. So here he composes this in what is called Sraddhara meter. See, the verse Mandakranta, which we were singing, has 17 syllables. Sraddhara will have 21 syllables. Okay? Yeah, 777, correct. Mrabhnair yanam trayena trimuniyati yuta sraddhara kirtiteyam. Correct. Brahmaihil. Those are the things. See, ya srishti srashturadya vahati vidhihutam yahavir yachahotri yedve kalam vidhattaha shruti vishaya guna yastita vyapya vishvam yamahusarrabija prakritiritiya praninah pranavantaha pratyakshabhih prapannaha tanubhiravatu vaha tabhirashtabhirishaha ishaha tabhihi tanubhihi avatu. Tanubhihi, tanu basically means a physical form. Okay? Physical form is called tanu, body. Body is also called tanu. He says, Pratyakshabhih prapannaha tanubhihi. Pratyakshabhihi tanubhihi prapannaha. The one who is evident to us. When you conceive of Ishvara, it's not that he is tangible to us in a particular form. We have multiple forms of Ishvara. So go to any village, they create their own form and they have. So here go to Orissa, they have some form of depiction of Ishvara. Go to Bengal, they have another form. So Vinayaka will have thousands of forms. So to Kali will have thousands of forms. So which is the form that Ishvara has? So here the poet says, this pratyaksha means something which is evident to us. Okay. So this tanubhihi, pratyakshabhihi, tanubhihi. See, through these forms are which are tangible to us. He says 8 forms. So now you see these 8 forms that Kālidāsa describes are all not the physical forms that we conceive of, but the very forms of the nature itself, which actually gives various other forms. So nature has something, and an integration of all these things put together gives a purpose for that entity. So this form which he describes here is ya srishtihi srashturadya. Srashtuhu adya srishtihi. Adya means the first. The first srishti. So here he does not actually list by name the names which are known to us. By some other description you have to understand that entity. Okay. So he is basically referring to Panchabhuta, but the way he describes them, see, so is something which is very important for us to appreciate. That's why I said various Shastra elements will be beautifully integrated into the Kālidasa's work. See, Srashtuhu Adya Srishtihi, when he says, this actually refers to Apaha. Apova idamagre salilamasit. Agre means Rishtev Prak. So it was water, therefore that Shastrartha has been brought in by him. Ya Srishti Srashturadya. Then Vidhi Hutam Havihi Vahati. Havihi Vahati. So we offer something unto the fire, and that fire is supposed to take it to the Devatas in some other form. It digests and then it turns into some other form. Nothing actually, even by science today. So a matter which disintegrates in one form appears in some other form. We know that. So now this Havihi which you offer gets transformed and then reaches that particular Devata in some form. Now he uses this word Vidhihutam. So many of us feel today that I have done this, ye to mujhe kuch nahi aaya. So Vidhihutam, it has to be appropriately done. See, this appropriateness depends on several factors. So the Shraddha with which you do, the way the mantra is rendered, and various other factors which are involved, then only it will have effect. Even ye chhod de. जब पिल खाता है, ये डॉक्टर ने दे दिया, उसको पैसा बनाना है, मैं खाता हूँ. Suppose you eat with that attitude, what will happen? और भी खराब हो जाएगा. See, if you keep cursing and eating, then nothing will happen. So that is why even if placebo can be taken with Shraddha, see, so placebo will also work. So that is why Vidhihutam he has said. A priest 5,000 रुपया पूछता है, 10,000 देना चाहिए, कर दो. Suppose you do, nothing will work. Anyway, I am just saying, I am not defending anybody, but I am just saying. So we have to do whatever we do, we have to do with Shraddha. See, whether it is teaching, whether it is sweeping, whether it is cooking, Vidhihutam is very important. See, Vahati Vidhihutam ya havihi. Ya havihi vidhihutam vahati. Otherwise it will not carry. Vidhihutam vahati. Yacha hotri yedve kalam vidhattaha. Yacha hotri. So hotri means the one who offers, that yajamana. This is the third form. Yedve kalam vidhattaha. See, if you just think for a moment, so we all have this time. So what is time? In fact, I asked this question. I am reminded of an instance. I was a fresh graduate, physics. I studied relativity and so on and so forth. Something was not clear. So where I studied, the teachers were not that great. So when I was studying this MSc physics, then I went to some other institution incidentally. I found a very brilliant person. He was a quantum physicist. Then I went to his cabin and I said, "Sir, I don't understand what time is. Can you explain what time is?" He said, "Ram Subramaniam, if you ask me what is the time, I will tell you." So anyway, so let us not wonder about what time is, but what is the time? The time also, how is it decided? The time, how is it decided? So these are the two factors. See, Surya and Chandra. It is their motion which decides. What is the duration of a year, you tell me? It has to do with the time taken. What is the duration of month? So, January, February, chhod dijiye. This is a meaningless calendar. So, if you take our own calendar, okay, okay, Purnima. So, we have, see, Purnima to Purnima, Amavasya to Amavasya. So, they decide our time. You just look at the sky and the face of the moon, you tell which day it is. You don't need to maintain the calendar. Suppose somebody were to ask you, suppose I were to promise today is Thursday, how will you say? If everybody forgets, there will be Thursday. But you can't fool me by saying that this is Chaturthi. Because I will say the face of the moon, ye kya bolte ho? You understand? Anyway, so our calendar is a meaningful calendar, and he says, Yedve kalam vidhattaha means the factors which decide time. Okay? The units of time. So the Surya and Chandra. Then Shruti Vishaya Gunaya Sthita Vyapya Vishwam. Vishwam Vyapya Sthita means the one which has pervaded throughout the universe. Vishwam Vyapya Sthita. It refers to space. You understand? So, of the 5 elements it describes. So, Shruti Vishaya Guna, this has to do with, see, so those who see, our Sampath Kumar will know. So, Shruti Vishaya Gunaha. Shruti Vishaya Guna means Shrutehe yo Vishayaha means Shruti is ear. Tasya Vishayaha means Shabdaha. Suppose I say the Vishaya for my eyes are Rupa. The Vishaya for my ears is Shabda. The Vishaya for nose is Gandha. So, Shrutehe Vishayaha means Shabdaha. So, the Shabda is the Guna for which? That is Akasha. Shruti Vishaya Guna Yasthita Vyapya Vishwam. See, in order to make it little more understandable, he has added. See, it is like a puzzle. Suppose you say, so people will ask questions in quiz, you know. So, what is this Vishaya for Shruti? Suppose somebody does not know. I give you one more hint. Yasthita Vyapya Vishwam. So, space is something which is pervading everything. Vishwam Vyapya. Here the word Vishwa means Sarvam Vyapya. See, Vishwa also means Sarva. Yasthita Vyapya Vishwam Yamahu Sarva Bija Prakriti Riti. In fact, now he comes to Prithvi. Sarva Bija Prakriti Yamahu. Yaya Praninah Pranavantaha. He refers to air. Now he says Pratyakshapi Prapannaha Ashta. So there are 8 forms which he described. What are they? The 5 bhutas. Then we have Surya, Chandra and Yajamana. Okay. So Yacha Hotri. Pratyakshabhihi Prapannaha. So the point here is we need to understand that, so though he says Isha, Isha means the one who controls. In fact, if you just see, our time is controlled by their motion. Okay. So the growth is all controlled by any of these elements. And in our larger understanding, the Havana and Hotri, see, we have this in Bhagavad Gita. See, I heard that you have taught 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So this, see, we have this verse, Sahayajñā praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadhvam yeshavos vishtakamadhuk ishtan bhogan hivo devaha dasyante yajña bhavitaha. There is a certain understanding that goes. So you offer something. So with veneration, the nature blesses you with that. So you treat nature as brute and stupid and you think you can conquer nature, the nature will fire back. Okay. So these are all forms of Ishvara. See? That is why we have this Namo Gnaye Sumate Nama Indraya Namo Varunaya. See? We offer our venerations. See, if it goes furious, what can you do? Nothing can be done. So that limitations are to be understood. So this, he says, these are the 8 forms, the physical forms of Ishvara in front of us. Okay? So that is how we need to understand. So there is a beautiful philosophy which goes behind it. In fact, he was saying this, he was quoting this during his introduction. See, Dr. Sampath Kumar was saying this. See, aparitoshad vidusham. This is actually the second verse, okay, in Śākuntala. Aparitoshad vidusham nasadhu manye prayoga vijñānam balavadapi shikshitanam atmanya pratyayam chetaha. See, Kālidāsa, though being a great poet, so he says, aparitoshad vidusham. See, I am just presenting a certain drama. Unless it is received well by scholars, okay, so we say, no, there is a phrase in English, no? The pudding is in eating, right? What is it? Taste, huh? The proof of the pudding. See, the proof of the pudding is in eating. So, okay, if people don't consume, so then you can say, though whatever they say, I mean, we know what it was. Right? Okay, similarly he says, see, aparitoshad vidusham nasadhu manye prayoga vijñāna. There is a beautiful alankara in this, so I don't have much time to explain the alankaras in these verses. But it also shows the kind of humility. Balavadapi shikshitanam atmanya pratyayam chetaha. Okay, so I'll just give you a couple of verses from Śākuntala, which are little far off. These 2 verses which I just shared with you are the first 2 verses of the work Śākuntala. So a couple of verses just to make it as a teaser, okay. Then we will get into, so then we will get into Śākuntalam further. So this is one of the verses which I really liked. So it appears, as you see, in the 4th. There are 7 totally, so 7 chapters you can call, 7 parts, acts. Act is what we call. Okay. Yatyekatosta shikharam patiroshadhinam avishkrita arunapurassaraye katorkaha tejodvayasya yugapad vyasano dayabhyam loko niyamyataivatmadashantareshu. Yatyekatosta shikharam. It is best a description. See, this is where the poet shows his genius. So there is a phenomenon which he wants to describe. So somebody actually, the context is, somebody asks what is the time. Okay. Now the person is supposed to reply to him. So he says, Yatyekatosta shikharam patiroshadhinam. See, ekataha means on the one side. See, he says there are 2 luminous bodies. So we just saw, so Arka and Surya, right? So the timekeepers of the world. So he says one body is setting. Ekataha, I see on the one side. Assume that this fellow is sitting somewhere in a small hillock. There are 2 other hills on the both sides. Ekataha, when I see on one side, Asta Shikharam Yati. Asta Shikhara means the mountain where it sits. The other side he says, Avishkrita Arunapurassaraye Katorkaha. On the other side. So you tell me which day it corresponds to. He says, I find the 2 luminous bodies which we have. One is moon, the other is sun. So on one side I am seeing one body is setting, on the other side I see the sun is rising. Which day it corresponds to? बताइए? अष्टमी नहीं होगा? See, they are 180 degrees apart. See, so if Ashtami where they will be 90 degrees apart. So this is Purnami, Purnima. See, one body is just setting, the other body is rising. And how does he describe that body as? Voshadhinam patihi. Voshadhinam patihi refers to moon. The rays of the moon actually produce some sort of nourishment to the Voshadhis. See, Voshadhis are some medicinal herbs. So they derive something from them and then they help us in curing. So he describes them as Yatye Katosta Shikharam Patiroshadhi Voshadhinam Patihi. Is a beautiful epithet which we find even in the Vedas to describe moon. That is why I said Kālidāsa will nicely bring in various things that are described in Vedas, Smritis, Puranas, etc., Dharma Shastras also. Patiroshadhinam avishkrita arunapurassaraye katorkaha. So on the other side, what do I see? Arunapurassaraha. This is what is Swabhavokti. There is Arthantaranyasa. There are various alankaras here, filled with alankaras. Avishkrita arunapurassaraye katorkaha. See, with the twilight, I see the other body rising up. Now comes the philosophy. Tejodvayasya yugapad vyasanodayabhyam. We normally use this phrase, no? He has been rising in his life, that fellow has set in his life. Right? Now you see the two illuminating bodies, one rising and other setting, and this is going to happen again and again for them. And therefore we need to understand that every human being has to undergo this cycle. Understand? So that is the philosophy. Loko niyamyata iva atmadashantareshu. We don't know of anybody who has always been sukha, who has always been dukha. Right? So this is a cycle. Chakravat parivartante dukhanicha sukhanicha. So there is a powerful message that is there, philosophy that we need to understand. So the point here is, we should not just, hey, sab kuch ho gaya. See, this should not happen. Okay, utsahavanto hi naranaloke sidanti karmaswati dushkareshu. In Ramayana, see, you were mentioning, no? So Lakshmana and Rama have a dialogue. At one point, Valmiki portrays Rama a little, see, faint-hearted. Then Lakshmana comes and tells, oh Rama, I don't need to teach you. So you are a great person. So we need to remember ourselves, remind ourselves that with utsaha, once the enthusiasm is there, then all things can be handled by us. Utsahavanto hi naranaloke sidanti karmasvati dushkareshu. Even if the task seems to be something which is unsurmountable, okay, so we will be able to handle them once we have utsaha. So that is the idea here. This he conveys in various places in various ways. Oh, next, this is another beautiful verse. So this is right at the beginning of Śākuntalam. The description is, this Dushyanta is moving in his chariot. Okay, so he is just going, basically for hunting, let us assume. This is a normal thing. Now the poet brings in the description of what is being noticed by Dushyanta. So this is again, I think, Muhuranupatati Sraddhara. Griva bhangabhiramam muhuranupatati syandane baddhadrishtihi paschardhena pravishtaha sharapatana bhayat bhuyasa purvakayam darbhairardhavalidhaihi shrama vivrta mukhasyandibhih kirnavartama pasyodagraplutatvat Vyeti bahutaram stokamurvyam prayati. I have never read. See, I did this engineering, MSc physics, this, that, etc. Unfortunately, I didn't have occasion to read these kavyas when I was young. Okay, I had some, of course, some samskara in the family tradition and so on. Now I really feel what a silly thing I have done by doing this electronic and communication engineering. I could have memorized these verses. See, when I was young, that is what I feel. But anyway, so there was an occasion for me to just interact with one scholar in Sanskrit. I did not know this verse. So that person told me, this context is very interesting. That person told me, so this part he told me, see, Viyatu Bahutaram Stoka Murvyam Prayati. You understand what this means? Viyat means Akasha. Okay. Urvi means Prithvi. Stokam means little. Bahutaram means for larger part of time. So that fellow said, so I told him that I went to this place and then I went to this place, then I came here. So he described to the other person, Viyati Bahutaram Stoka Murvyam Prayati. He said, this fellow is more on space than on the ground. So then I found this description very interesting, metrical. I asked him, where is this? Okay. So this person said, this is in Śākuntala, but I don't remember the full verse. Then that day evening I went and digged up the Śākuntala. I found this verse amazingly beautiful. See, so essentially he says, spends more time on space than on earth. So what is described here is the motion of a deer. See, I have a very bright student, and that student picked up these photos from the web, you see. The Griva, Bhanga, Bhiramam, the very sight of the deer pleases, right? Pleases us. But particularly when it turns its face and looks at us, it will be all the more beautiful, right? Griva, Bhanga means bending the neck, okay, turning the neck. Abhiramam, see, all the more charming by the bending of the neck and then glancing at us. Muhur Anupatati, Syandane, Syandana means chariot. Okay, Syandana means chariot. So the description is, the moment the deer hears the noise of the chariot, so it is scared because it feels that arrow can come and hit us. So it starts running. Okay, that is the description that the poet tries to give here. And once you know that there is a source of fear, you will be again and again turning, right? Whether this fellow has stopped or is he still following. Okay, that is why Muhur Anupatati, this Syandane, Muhuhu. See, this chariot is again and again chasing. And Syandane Baddha Drishtihi. Baddha Drishti means its eyes are tied to that. If you are looking for someone and you have to, let us say, go for the flight, that fellow is delaying, then what will you do? Is he coming? Is he coming? Is he coming? You will again and again see that direction, right? So this is how he describes. So the chariot, particularly when you are in trouble, you will just do that. Baddha Drishtihi. Though it is moving forward, its eyes is tied to the chariot. Paschardhena Pravishtaha. This is a really beautiful description from the viewpoint of physics. Suppose you want to have a high leap, okay, and a long leap. See, both are actually connected, okay. So if you move in a particular angle, then you will be able to have a long jump. Now this deer, see, it should give so much of pressure in the hind legs. For that to happen, the thrust to be maximum, see, the front legs have gotten into the back legs, you see. That is what he says. Paschardhena pravishtaha. Why? Sharapatana bhayat bhuyasa purvakayam. Darbhair ardhavalidhaihi. The third thing is, it was just grazing the grass. See, ardhavalidha means it has eaten only half of it. But then the moment you know that it is a source of fear, you will just run away. So it was carrying a bunch of grass, okay, on its mouth. But then he says, because of getting exhausted on the way, it had to open its mouth, okay. So breathing with nose was not sufficient. And then those grass were falling down, you see. Darbhair ardhavalidhaihi shrama vivrita mukha. Shramena vivritam mukha. The mouth had to be opened because of exhaustion. Kirnavartma Pashyaha. See that deer. Udagra plutatvat. Utpluta means high jump. Agra pluta means long. Okay, it is just jumping forward and above. Now, because of this, the deer spends more time in space than on the earth. Understand? Viyati bahutaram stoka murvyam prayati. So that person who was just referring to me was basically, he is traveling more on space, on flight than staying on ground. So it is just a atishayokti. So that is anyway, so this is a reality, it is a beautiful description. Okay. Hey, where is the device? It doesn't move. Okay. Quickly, about the Śākuntalam. So it is based on, the title is based on Śākuntala. So we know she is the Nayaki, and see, this is all okay. So the episode draws, okay, the story from what we find in Mahabharata. And how do we understand the term? So the story is like this. So Vishwamitra and Menaka so gave birth to this child, but then she was left alone in the forest. And the description that we find in Mahabharata is that since she was left alone, and the charm of that girl was such that even the birds fell in love and they started taking care of the human. Okay. So that is how the verse describes. See, Nirjane tuvane yasmat shakuntaihi parirakshita. Shakunta means bird. Shakuntaihi parirakshita means protected by the birds. Okay. Śākuntalēti nāmasyaha katancapi tato maya. So therefore she has been named Śakuntala. And the word derivation is pakshibhihi lalyate. Śakuntaihi lalyate. See. So this is how the word can be derived. Okay. Śākuntala. Now the one which is connected with Śakuntala is what is Śākuntalam. That is the name with which it goes. Okay. So that is a anpratyaya which comes. Okay. Tadadhikritya rachite granthe. See, that is how. Okay. Tad tena rachite granthe. That is how Aryabhatiyam comes. Tadadhikritya rachite. All these sutras are there. That is all tadhita. Okay. Hey Babu. Hey Barbar. No, there also I do. See, sometimes it works signals. They have their own ways of being. Anyway. This here, this Vishwamitra, Menaka, gives rise to Śakuntala. Then there is another sage Durvasa who plays a major role in this. So Kashyapa is the foster father, and Priyambada, Anasuya, they are all the friends of. These are the characters, major characters in the Śākuntala. Sharngarava, Gautami, Dushyanta husband, and Bharata is the son. Okay, this is the bit of. Now, quickly I will take you through the story. Dushyanta visits Kashyapa's hermitage on the course of his hunting, meets Śakuntala. Okay, faster. Now, 1 and 2, this is all. But there are beautiful verses describing various things there. Now, Act 3, Śakuntala, see, lovesick with Dushyanta, keeps thinking of him. So, Dushyanta also fell in love with Śakuntala, asked to marry him. This is how Act 3. Act 4 is what is supposed to be most brilliant, as appreciated by great people. In fact, there is a verse also. Kavyeshu natakam brahmyam tatrapicha Śakuntala tatrapicha chaturthonkaha tatra shloka chatushtayam. We will definitely cover those 4 slokas. How much we go, I don't know. Okay. Now, this is also for, so after marriage, Dushyanta gives Śakuntala. Then conceived Śakuntala is advised to, see, she was seen to be carrying, therefore he advises, that is where the Chaturthonka goes, he advises and sends her with a beautiful message. Okay. So to go and meet Dushyanta and stay with him. Śakuntala goes with ascetics, appears before Dushyanta, being under the spell of curse, somehow he fails to recognize Śakuntala. That is how the story is nicely built. Then we have a fisherman finds that Dushyanta sees it and recalls Śakuntala. Okay. So then it goes, the story goes, okay, we leave this. So he apologizes for everything, they get united. That is how the story ends. Now, this is the verse which I was referring to. Kavyeshu natakam brahmyam tatrapicha Śakuntala tatrapicha chaturthonkaha tatra shloka chatushtayam. Okay, shloka chatushtayam. The 4 verses is what I will cover. Then depending upon, if we have some time, a few more verses and the teachings that we will look into. So, these all the 4 verses are composed in Shardula Vikridita meter, and they are all rendered by Kashyapa, the foster father. And Kashyapa learns that Śakuntala is married to Dushyanta and is pregnant. He suggests Śakuntala that he should set out immediately and go meet him. Śakuntala bids farewell to Kashyapa. Friends, this is again this flora fauna. Okay, the love that they have with the flora and fauna, brilliantly brought out by Kālidāsa here. Okay, so Kashyapa sends Śakuntala. Okay, and very beautiful advices. This is the first verse of the 4 beautiful verses. यास्यत्यद्य शकुन्तलेति हृदयं संस्पृष्टमुत्कण्ठया कण्ठस्तम्भितबाष्पवृत्तिकलुषं कलुषः चिन्ताजडं दर्शनं वैक्लव्यं मम तावदीदृशमिदं स्नेहात् हरण्यौकसः पीड्यन्ते गृहिणः कथं नुतनया विश्लेष दुःखैर्नवैः. So, this is a verse which tries to portray the feelings underwent by Kanva, or you can call the foster father. Okay. So, what is happening? He says, Yasyatyadya. So, the day of departure is decided. So, that day morning he recounts, Śakuntala is going to leave me and then go once and for all to Dushyanta, Yasyati, that she is going to leave. Hridayam samsprishtam utkanthaya, I am filled with so much of anxiety. Okay. Then he says, because of that, kanthastambita bashpavritti kalushaha. When the emotions, okay, overtake us, then words will not come out. Okay, throat will be choked. Kanthastambita bashpavritti kalushaha, and the eyes also will start pouring. Once water accumulates in eyes, you will not be able to see things in front of you. Okay. One is, the mind will be somewhere and therefore it cannot see. The water will also blur the vision. See, that is what he describes. Chinta jadam darshanam. So, that is physical features of what is happening in this man. Now comes the message that he wants to convey. See, Vaiklavyam mama tavadidrishamidam. After all, he was just looking after Śakuntala. He is not the real father. You understand? So, he says, that is one aspect. The second aspect is, after all, he is some sage who is supposed to be in forest, who should not have attachment, etc., etc. Now he says, so being a sage in the forest who is supposed to have renounced everything, see, and not even being the actual father, okay, then he says, even for me this is the state. What do I think of parents who have really given birth to the child and they have made them, okay, into whatever they are till that day. So, this is how he brings it. Pīdyante grihinaha kathannu tanaya vishlesha dukhaihi. Navaihi vishlesha dukhaihi. After a few months, it's okay. But when it starts, see, on the day, see, you will see that when the girl goes off, everyone will start weeping, right? So, Pīdyante grihinaha kathannu tanaya. This is the beautiful description of the state of Kanva. Now, second verse. Patum na prathamam vyavasiti jalam yushma swapiteshu ya nadatte priyamandana pibhavatam snehena ya pallavam adyevah kusuma prasuti samaye yasya bhavat yutsavah seyam yati Śakuntala patigriham sarvairanujñāyatam. This verse brilliantly brings out the kind of interaction that Śakuntala had with the flora and fauna. So, he says, Śakuntala, the last line you see, Seyam yati Śakuntala, that Śakuntala is going to leave you forever. Okay, that Śakuntala, which Śakuntala? This verse is being addressed by the sage to the creepers and plants there. You see? So he says, Sarvaihi anujñāyatāṁ. May you all bless and permit her to go away. Okay? So this prayer is to the plants and creepers which were there, which was taken care by Śākuntala. And how was he taking care? He describes, Śākuntala is that person who will never ever venture to sip even a palm of water before watering you. Patum na prathamam vyavasyati jalam yushmasu apiteshu. Yushmasu apiteshu means the first duty of her is to water you. And only after watering she will consume a bit of water for herself. That is the kind of affection she was exhibiting towards you. Patum na prathamam vyavasyati jalam yushmasvapiteshu ya. Then he further says, Nadatte priyamandanapi. Though she loves to decorate other things as well as decorate herself with flowers, but she will hesitate to pluck from you, thinking that you will be pained by that process. See, Nadatte priyamandanapi bhavatam snehena ya pallavam. Now you see, this is where the poet brings in this shastrartha. So this shastrartha, even, see the kind of care, we don't know this. Even if you were to pluck something in the yaga, for instance, you have to bring in somalata and so on. Then the way our shastra has stated is, so when you go and try to pluck this, see, you pray to them. See, I am actually taking Priyanyanga nisvadhita parogumshi tat sandhatsva ajye notavarthayasva. This is what the priest is supposed to do. See, Priyanyangani, as my part is dear to me, so too that part is dear to you. But for some reason I have to pluck. Priyanyangani. Okay? I am hurting you in this process. May you please bear with this pain. Tat sandhatsva. I am offering something. Okay? Through this offering, may you further grow. Ajye notavardhayasva. This is how the priest is supposed to interact with the plant. Okay? So that is something which has been brought out. See? So priyamandanapi bhavatam snehena ya pallavam. Then he further says, Adyevah kusuma prasudi samaye. So if your child is known to be pregnant, you will be so happy. So too, Śākuntala will become ecstatic when you start flowering for the first time. Adyevah kusuma prasuti samaye. It is a great celebration for her. Yasya bhavatyutsavaha. That particular Śākuntala is going to leave. So may you all bless her. Okay, your well wishes may be poured to her. See, this is how he tries to communicate with the plants and creepers there. Hi. This is the third verse. Asman sadhu. This is a very interesting thing. See, so a message that is being conveyed with high diplomacy. See, Asman sadhu vichintya sanyama dhanan uchay kulanchatmanaha. This is a message that this Kanda Maharshi wants to be conveyed to Dushyanta when Śākuntala is going to be dropped by the people who are escorting her. So he says, Asman sadhu vichintya sanyamadhanan. The description that we find here is sanyamadhana. What is this? You have heard of tapodhana. What is tapodhana? The one for those whom only tapas is the wealth. See? Okay, tapodhano brahmana. So here he is sanyamadhana. It is very important to understand. Today that is what is completely missing. See, sanyama means a certain ability to control our emotions. See, we are just driven away by impulses. Whatever we want to do. Okay? There is no sanyama whatsoever. So this is a great wealth, in fact, we need to understand. So he says, We are Sanyamadhanas. We don't consider other material wealth as wealth, but it is only Sanyama which is considered as a wealth. Okay. Asman sadhu vichintya, this greed that we have, in fact. Okay. You know this Rajat Gupta. Rajat Gupta pata hai aapko? See, this fellow in 2008, he was having 100 billion worth fellow. Okay. 100 billion. He was, so he became, and then there was no Sanyama. Enough was not there. Enough buddhi was not there. So therefore he wanted to get, see, he was $100 million worth. So which means every hour he will get some $500 to $600 as interest, even at 5%. Every hour he will get. But then he wanted to become a billionaire and ended up doing something, completely spoiled his name. Sanyama should be there. We need to understand what is, so he has sacrificed something which cannot be sacrificed for something which is not worthy of sacrificing anything. That is what many of us do. Anyway, Asman sadhu vichintya sanyamadhanan. So we are sanyamadhanas. Because we are sanyamadhanas, we are sadhus. See, sadhu vichintya sanyamadhanan. Uchchaih kulancha atmanaha. You are a high-born person. Uchchaih kulancha vichintya. Please think of this. Tvayasyaha. This verse itself can be explained for half an hour. I am not going to do that. It is a very beautiful verse. Tvayasyaha kathamapya bandhavagritam sneha pravrittinchatam. Somehow, this marriage was not set up by your family or my family. Okay? You somehow fell in love with her. Okay? And now she has become pregnant, you have to just take care of her. See, kathamapi abandhavagritam sneha pravrittim. Sneha pravritti can be bandhavagrita. It is abandhavagritam sneha pravritti. Please think of that. Then, samanya pratipatti purvakamiyam dareshu drishyatvaya. The samanya pratipatti is a very beautiful usage. In fact, it can be split in three ways. Samanya ya pratipattihi, samanya pratipattihi. Pratipattir nama jnanam. Okay. Samanya pratipatti purvakam. This is another way of splitting that. You understand? Sa means that Śākuntala, manya pratipatti purvakam is another description. The other way of splitting is sa ma anya pratipatti purvakam. Okay, so there is no time to explain all that in detail. So I will just tell you. So this is just a teaser for you to go and read further. Samanya pratipatti purvakamiyam. See, we have our Vivek Dalmia here. You just trouble him. Pida astu. Or some other person, okay, that Swamiji is here. See, or we have our Sampadananda Mishra here. Of course. See. So we have to read this. These are amazing, amazing creations. Dareshu drishyatvaya. Then this last line. Bhagyayatta matah param nakhalu tad vachyam vadhu bandhubihi. So you have to tell this message. Vadhu bandhubi means those who are relatives of the vadhu. Okay, the bride. They cannot say anything further. So this is all we can communicate to you. So you are a great person. We are all tapodhanas. This meeting already happened and she is now carrying. It is your duty to take care. So that he doesn't explicitly say, you are a great person, you are a high-born person, etc., etc. That is all he says. Okay. So he doesn't say, and he also says, this lady, see, Samanya Pratipatti means after all she is brought in some forest. So she does not know how to diplomatically behave perhaps. Okay, if that is what diplomacy is. So she may not know. She is with that intention, you have to just treat her. Okay, so there are various meanings that you can associate with that. Really beautiful. Then he says, Bhagyayatta matah param. Finally, see, it is all dependent upon providence. So whatever we can do, we have to just done this. So nakhalu tad vachyam vadhu bandhubi. See, you cannot say much more. Okay, this is a powerful message that is being conveyed by Kanva to Śākuntala. So before she goes and reaches. This is something which is very important for all of us. We have to just, okay, particularly, see, so ladies, to convey to the major problems are being created because we have not understood the importance of this. The very first phrase is very important. There are some 5-6 things, messages that he gives to Śākuntala. If you try to follow the principles that are being outlined by him, okay, then you will be a source of joy to the other family. If you completely ignore them, then you will be source of agony to the other family. Okay, this is what he says. See this. Sushrushasva gurun. What is Sushrusha? Huh? See, seva. See, seva can be done only when there is a certain attitude to listen to the other person. Sushrusha literally means shrotum ichcha. See, like jijñāsa. Jijñāsa means a desire to know. Sushrusha means a desire to listen to others. Okay. So that is actually becoming nowadays used, okay, in the sense of seva. Okay. Sushrushasva. See, unless this is there, that will not happen. Okay. How will he do seva if he does not even listen to you? See, Sushrushasva, he says Gurun. Gurun means all the elderly people. See, now the problem is, they don't even listen to. You understand? You just keep saying something, they don't care. So that will hurt you more. If they listen and then they try to respond to you, then at least you will feel better. At least she heard. So Sushrushas, I'll tell you one instance. You don't know, there was one Dikshi there. This really happened, I'm not joking. See, sometimes the marriage goes off in 1 month, sometimes in a few months, sometimes after a few years, all that happens. This instance, it just happened in a few hours. How did it happen? That is how this is the Sushrushasva problem, I'll just tell you. So, what happened was, this girl, so he was, our Sampath Kumar was just saying, so the Swamiji came and then he did namaskara to this, okay, and then he did this, right? So, in our families, when somebody elderly person comes, okay, some learned person comes, this is a new couple, okay, who got married, they will be asked to do namaskara. So, this Dikshitar's son, so got married to some girl. That girl, so having come to this family, he felt, see, initially itself this seems to be a different environment. Then what happened was, so many people come, see 4 days marriage, so many people started coming. Then everybody, he just said, so do namaskara, do namaskara. This girl got fed up. The 3rd day she left. Okay. So anyway, that's what happened. Anyway, the point is, this Gurun Sushrushasva means, there are 2 meanings to this. One is, listen to them. See, elderly people, even if you listen to them, that itself will be giving some solace to them, even if you beg to differ. Okay. So show that you are listening to what they are saying. This is one. Sushrushasva means try to serve elderly people. Guru means, see, Guru has various meanings. So those who are elderly in knowledge, so all kinds of things. So you just listen to them. Okay, elderly people you just listen to in the family. Kuru priya sakhi vrittim sapatni jane. As a king, he may have other wives in the harem. Okay. So then try to establish friendly relationship with who are already there with the king. Okay, priya sakhi vrittim. This has a very beautiful message. So priya sakhi, he says. So if you are really loving friend, then any good that happens with the king, so pleases her, you will be pleased. Otherwise, jealousy will come. So kuru priya sakhi vrittim sapatni jane. Then, bhartur viprakritapi is a very, very important thing. If for some reason this fellow got annoyed in the assembly and he comes back and then shouts at you in the home, okay, Bhartur viprakritapi roshanataya. Okay. For no reason, suppose he becomes angry with you. Then you don't shout back at him. Masma pratipangamaha. That is not going to help him. That is not going to help you. Okay. So you have to keep calm and understand something would have happened. Therefore, he is shouting like this, but he is not a bad person. Okay. So that you have to understand. So roshanataya masma pratipangamaha. See, sometimes once I became really emotional. So this is my own very close relative, I'll tell you. So they just visited me in Mumbai once. This person has lost his hearing sense to some extent. And I know him that he is an angry person, so he will just suddenly start shouting. But he is a good person. So once he kept some, he has this little bit of asthma. He misplaced. So he is supposed to have something, okay. Puff, what do you call it? Puff, Puff. So he has misplaced that. Then he was just searching, he didn't get. So he became little difficult for him to have this breath. Then he started shouting. Enge means in Tamil, where did you keep? He said, I did not keep, you only keep. Then he said, unless you get lost, I will not be happy. For no reason, this fellow. That words really made me feel sorry for this, that lady. But she has to bear with this kind of people. Anyway, it will be other ways also. Anyway, so that's why I'm saying, Bharturu Vipra, whichever way it is, see, we have to just see that we don't lose balance. That's why Harshamarsha Bhayodvegaihi Muktoyaha Sachame Priyaha. That is why Bhagavad Gita says. Okay. So, Bhartur Viprakritapi Roshanataya Masma Pratipangamaha. Masma Pratipangamaha means you don't bounce back. Okay. So, it will just, then he says, this is again important. Bhuyishtham Bhavadakshina Parijane. Very powerful message. So, this is what I mean, all these managers, okay, are being taught. So, they have to pay 60,000 rupees for getting this message. But here you will be given 60,000. See, Bhuyishtham Bhavadakshina Parijane. See, Parijana means those who are dependent on you. Dakshina means be amiable to them. Okay. So, because they are dependent on you, you should not show power. See, and then you cannot treat them like slippers. Okay. Bhuyishtham bhavadakshina parijane. That's where people will show all their might. Okay. Bhagyeshvanutsekini. Bhagyeshu, when you become prosperous, you don't just start jumping up and down. It is all because of me. Okay. Utsekaha means it should not spike your ego. See, there are some people who I have seen. Just because I got involved, this became very good. It is like the lizard saying, the lizard will be on this wall. It will say that I am holding the wall. See, that is how many people feel in the organizations. Okay. So if it is the other way around, they would like to excuse. It is all because of you. Okay. Anyway, Bhagyeshvanutsekini Yantyevam grihini padam yuvatayaha. Finally, he says, those who try to imbibe these values, they are worthy of being described by the term grihini. In fact, grihini grihamuchyate, the one homemaker. You understand? So nowadays, people feel homemaker, I am only homemaker. That is what is to be done. Nothing more is required. Yantevam grihini padam yuvatayaha. Vamaha means viparitaha. See, those who are otherwise. Kulasya adhayaha. Adhihi. See, you have heard the word vyadhi. What is vyadhi? Disease. Adhi. Agony. Mental disease. Okay. This physically, if you are not keeping well, you are vyadhigrastha. Mentally, if you are not keeping well, you are adhigrastha. All of us are adhigrasthas. See, whether vyadhigrastha or not. See, Vamaha kulasya adhayaha. Okay. So, what is the time? You should just tell me. Then I will wind up accordingly. थोड़ा हो सकता है? Okay. Okay. Very good. Okay, 10-15 minutes. आप सिग्नल कीजिए, मैं तब बंद कर दूँगा. No problem. Now you see, so this I have completed 4 verses. Okay, so that was my target. Okay. शान्तमिदमश्रमपदं स्फुरति च बाहुः कुतः फलमिहास्य अथवा भवितव्यानां द्वाराणि भवन्ति सर्वत्र. Very beautiful verse. This is in what meter? Anybody? Arya. Shantamimamashramapadaṁ. See, I'll tell you this Arya. In fact, yesterday we were just discussing when I was traveling with Vivek Aryaji from Vivek Dalmiaji from the airport. He just picked up something, some discussion went on Arya, Chandas Shastra. So Arya, so recently I was reading this Chandas Shastra and some internal texts. I was amazed to see the kind of variation that you can have. Somewhere somebody has says, given the number 8 crore 19 lakhs 20,000 variations. 8 crore 19 lakhs 20,000 variations in Arya. Okay, so it was just ecstasy. So only maybe 10 days ago. So I just was trying to understand. This could not be figured out unless I went into the Chandas Shastra. This Chandas Shastra, which is authored by Pingala in 300 BCE. See, 2300 years before. So this presents a variety of restrictions that are imposed on the Arya meter, or rather, I would just put it this way. So depending upon the composition that has been made by great poets, he analyzes and then presents that these are the rules which are followed by them while constructing verses in Arya. That is how it goes, no? So human intelligence comes up with something, okay, and then that is taken as one of the references. So you find certain pattern in that. So in a raga you find a certain pattern, okay. So this kind of pattern which is being followed by people, that he analyzes and then he presents something. So there is a very interesting meter, okay, but that itself, we just think, initially I was so ignorant. I was thinking Arya means only some number of matras. Not only that, there are so many other things and they have analyzed. So very interesting. Shantamimamashramapadaṁ Spurati jabahuhu kutaf phalamihasya, he says. So Dushyanta describes what is happening to him. So he is getting into an ashrama. Janapada. See, we were talking about Janapada, right? This is ashrama pada. See, Janapada will never be quiet. Ashrama pada is supposed to be quiet. Okay. See, he says Shantamidam ashramapadam. This king comes from Janapada. See, Allah Gulla, all things. So outside you go. So inside this auditorium, Shantam. So we are able to enjoy. We are transcending ourselves into the beauty of literature. Shantamidam ashramapadam. I am entering into a domain where peace is prevailing. Then, Sphuratija bahuhu. This has to do with what we find in. This is there is a Shastra particularly for this. Shakuna Shastra. I will tell you, this is an interesting thing. Once I was invited to University of Copenhagen. So as some ICCR chair professor. So I went there. There a couple of fellows have been studying the Shakuna Shastra for 20 years. Couple of fellows, University of Copenhagen. And this is a huge literature. Another fellow was studying another book only on games. We didn't know. So there is a literature which deals only with hundreds of games. All the games are described in verses. The Shakuna Shastra they have been studying for 15-20 years. So various things are described. So this he says, Puraticha bahuhu. Somehow my, so see, so our Dr. Sampat Kumar was saying, see, so Vepatusya Sharire me in Bhagavad Gita. That is what is happening for this Dushyanta. Then he wonders why is this happening? Puraticha bahuhu kutaha. This is what is called Sandeha Alankara. Anyway, there are 3 Alankaras in this. I will not get into that. Phalamihasya. What is this indicating to you? Okay. So these are all symptoms which we find when we are overpowered by certain emotions. or it sort of predicts something. So what is happening here in this ashrama pada? Then he says, athava. Then he reconciles himself. He reconciles himself and says, athava bhavitavyanam dvarani bhavanti sarvatra. Bhavitavya means something which is bound to happen. Okay, if something is bound to happen, then the nature has its own ways of creating the necessary environment for that to happen. Okay, it can be good, it can be bad. See, bhavitavyanam dvarani sarvatra bhavanti. Okay, in fact, let me just, yesterday I was sharing this anecdote with him. See, I'll tell you, sometimes good things also happen, right? See, this is how, in fact, we are discussing about dharmo rakshati rakshitaha while coming in the car. I'll tell you, for the first time, I went out of India in 2001. Okay, I did not know. So for the first time, I'm leaving out. So I went for a conference in Mexico. There I was told that in Mexico, people don't speak English also. It's all Spanish dominated. Even if you want to interact with them, it will be very difficult. And you will not get anyway, it's not like US, you will not get. So that was 5-day conference. Okay. Then people advised me to carry all that food that is necessary with me. So I just had one big suitcase of only sweet snacks, puri, whatever. Okay. One bag. Another bag, another suitcase. So with some dhoti, this, that, etc. This was a three-part flight. So Chennai to London, London to San Francisco, San Francisco to Mexico. I land there around 8:30 or so in the evening. Okay. Then the two suitcases have to come. I'm waiting in the conveyor belt. So on the other side, I see, this customs checking. So many fellows who are just carrying some food item, complete disposal. Whether it is packed item, this item, that item, doesn't matter, any eatable not allowed inside. So I'm just seeing that, oh my God, what am I going to do for 5 days? What am I going to do for 5 days? I'm really worried. And I also see the language problem is there. That is genuine. When I'm talking about 23 years ago. So who am I going to approach and explain? So then another problem comes. That dhoti bag, etc. came. But food bag did not come. So conveyor belt stopped, my bag has not come. Then also I did not know what to do. Okay, I was doubly worried now. So if it comes, how do I explain? If it does not come, what do I do? I am not experienced. So then what happened was some fellow saw some changes in my face that this fellow is worried. So some fellow came on his own, okay, to me. And then said, sir, do you need some help? I was so pleased that some fellow comes and speaks to me in English. Okay, then I said, this is what has happened, my bag has not come, I don't know what to do. Then he said, what is the purpose for which you have come? I said, from tomorrow some conference is there, I have been given accommodation in this hotel. Then he said, do one thing, go to the counter, that is the counter, tell them that this bag contains most important material for me for the conference tomorrow. So for the conference tomorrow, then you will find some solution. Okay, that's all he said, and then I went there. So then I pulled out that letter, whichever came, and then said, see, this is the hotel in which I am staying. So tomorrow is conference. He said that he just looked something, and then she said, this bag is in San Francisco. Somehow it did not carry this flight, but I can do one thing for you. So tomorrow morning there is a 6 o'clock flight from San Francisco that will come here by 8 o'clock, and then I will immediately transport it to the hotel before 9 o'clock. You see, this is how Ishvara saves us. That is why I am saying, Bhavitavyanam dvarani. If the food were to reach me, Ishvara has his own ways of handling it. If it had come to me, then I may have lost all of them. See? So that is how Bhavitavyanam dvarani bhavanti sarvatra. Okay? So this is how we need to understand. So this is a very important message that he tells. The reason I am saying is, Many of us somehow feel really despondent in various situations. Whatever comes is all karma phala. We have to just understand that. Once we understand that, then that itself will serve as a great shock absorber. See, it may be good, sometimes it may be bad. Whether it is good or bad, it is all something which is an outcome of what we have done. Okay, so that is how we need to understand. That is how even the great people have taught us lessons. Okay, so the time has come. So I am just going to take you to the last verse. See, with the Mangala Shloka, we should just end up. Hi, go. Last. See, pravartatam prakriti-hitaya parthivaha saraswati shruti mahatam mahiyatam mamapi chakshapayatu neelalohitaha punarbhavam parigata shaktiratma bhuhu. Wonderful prayer. The sequence is also very important here to understand. This is the last verse. We started with Ya Srishti. He says, Pravartatam prakriti-hitaya parthivaha is the one who governs. So let the ruler, okay, be inspired with the philosophy that he has to take care of his subjects. So here the word he uses, you see prakriti-hitaya, not distributing freebies. That is prakriti ranjana, not prakriti hita. Prakriti means the people. Prakriti hitaya pravartatam parthivaha is very important. Then he says, when can this happen? Saraswati shruti mahatam mahiyatam. There is a sequence in this. So this king will execute right things provided he is guided by the right thoughts. Who provides the right thoughts? Shruti mahatam saraswati mahiyatam. Shruti mahatam means those who have understood the import of the Vedas, let their voices be heard by the king. See, mahiyatam. Saraswati here means walk. Shruti mahatam saraswati mahiyatam. May it have higher status. Okay. So he has to be willing to listen to the right kind of advisors. Mama picha. Then he comes to his own interest. First interest is this, and when can it happen? Then he finally says, Mama picha. The cha, this is somewhat unimportant, but let me pray this also. Kshapayatuni lalo hitaha punarbhavam parigata shaktiratma bhuhu. This is a very beautiful description of Parameshvara. Parigata shaktihi atma bhuhu. You understand? So it is not something which is created. That is, there is a beautiful synchrony between what he described as the Isha in multiple forms, and these elements, they all came on their own. You understand? Atma bhuhu. There is nothing which God generated. You understand? So Atma bhuhu and Parigata shaktihi means, the one whose potency is unlimited. Okay. So it is unlimited means it is spread everywhere. Parigata shaktihi atma bhuhu punarbhavam mama pichakshapayatu. Okay. Thank you very much for the patient listening. Dhanyavada.